I am Thanos, and today I am surrounded by 20 Avengers. My first claim is that everything I did was to relieve the universe of the suffering it could not bear. My plan to remove half of all life was not cruelty, it was mercy. Removing half of life was the least harmful choice.
You know, Thanos, I never understood. How can you live 1,000 years, devote all those years to one problem, all of that just to end up with such a stupid, hollow plan?
The plan was proven. It was executed multiple times, and it worked. The entire universe united against it, and not one faction could stop it.
Until we did.
And you had to risk the existence of the multiverse to do that. And what did you do next to solve the problem? Nothing. And my planning is bad.
What we do is never perfect, and we admit that. The problem is that we often don't have a choice, unlike you.
I didn't have any choice either.
You had an abundance of choice. You just wanted to kill. But violence doesn't solve problems. You were smart enough to find the stones, but not smart enough to think of doubling the resources instead of killing half of the people.
Double the resources? The more there is to take, the fiercer the battle to possess it. An excess of resources can be just as dangerous, just as destabilizing as the lack of them.
That is total bullshit.
I speak from experience. I have witnessed planets die from starvation, yes, but I have also witnessed societies' collapses from having too much, from the greed and endless fighting that abundance fuels.
I don't buy that. But even if your goal was to specifically limit the growth of population because you think it's the best plan, there are many other ways to do that, like random sterilization of half of the population, or locking the populations to a maximum number of individuals, in a way that once that point is reached, it becomes impossible to get pregnant until someone dies. I don't really agree with even those, but they are still so much better than genocide.
You really think that would stop them?
Life.
You think they wouldn't find a way around it? We live in a universe where magic and technology defy nature every day. Do you honestly believe people wouldn't find a way to reproduce anyway?
Come on. You're really trying to convince us you had no other option when you literally held the power to reshape reality. They are called the Infinity Stones because they offer infinite possibilities. You expect us to believe you were utterly constrained?
Yes. There is probably some super complicated, highly elaborated plan that could have worked. But you used the stones. You know how hard they are to use. The more complicated the plan, the greater the risk of catastrophic error. My plan was the perfect balance. Simplicity and efficiency.
And slicing existence in half doesn't risk things going wrong. Your plan is everything but efficient. A hell of things can go wrong. The first I can think about is how killing 50% doesn't leave you with 50% alive. People depend on each other. Children need parents. Communities rely on key individuals. That instantaneous loss of half of life guarantees far more than 50% dying in the ensuing
chaos. You think
chaos.
I didn't consider that? That people depend on each other? That losing one life can take 10 more with it? I did, but dependency is exactly why balance had to be forced. I know it causes chaos. I've seen it before. I never got to try it on my own world, but I did see it work elsewhere. Planets that followed my plan rebuilt stronger. Every time the pattern was the same. Pain first, then order. The ones who survived didn't just rebuild, they built better.
That is what you always do, isn't it? You break the world, and then you talk long enough to convince yourself it was the only way. You twist every mess into proof that you were right.
And you and your friends love to talk about what's wrong. You preach your soft, easy views. Killing is bad, so you can feel clean while the universe rots the same way it always has. You had the stones, and what did you do? You used them to put everything exactly back how it was. You saved no one. You just made sure nothing changed.
Look, no matter how great your imaginary spreadsheet says the results are, genociding half of all existence can never be right.
I wouldn't call what I did a genocide.
You killed half of the entire universe! What are we calling it then?
I didn't kill them. It was a painless erasure. They weren't going to get a better ending, even in the best-case scenario. It was random and not biased. It can never be called a genocide. See it as a necessary,
You want to talk about
natural
painless?
event.
I felt the horror of that snap, buddy. It's still by far the worst experience of my entire life. You can call it whatever you want because you weren't
I
the one
experienced
erased.
far worse than that. And everything I did was intended to prevent you and everyone else from experiencing the same.
And who gave you the right to choose for us?
It's not a right, it's a responsibility. I was the only being in the universe with a power great enough to save everybody. And you know it best, Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility.
How dare you? That mantra can never justify what you did. Great responsibility is the responsibility to preserve the right to choose. It's not the authority to force what you think is right onto people.
What if they clearly lack the ability to know what's right
They
for them?
still have the right to choose. You don't get to decide what's right, you God-complex maniac.
So, let's say, hypothetically, that the majority of the people of New York decide to start supporting the Green Goblin, for example. Would you let them do that? Or would you do what you think is actually
I am
right?
certainly not going to go and kill all of them. They will certainly be misled, but I will not try to force them to what I think is right. I will try to understand and see where they are coming from, and then guide them and inspire them to do what's right. That's the true responsibility that comes with power.
My second claim is, emotions have no place in decisions that shape the universe. The Avengers act from fear, anger, and guilt. I act from reason. I see the wound. I make the cut. Pain is irrelevant if it brings balance. Emotion clouds judgment. Logic brings order.
You can't claim that, Thanos, when you yourself are a terrible emotional mess.
I didn't doom the future of the universe just because I refused to sacrifice beings I love. Beings that are actually insignificant in the grand scheme of
Acting
things.
pragmatic doesn't work when
I
your emotions...
sacrificed everything, even myself. I was ready for everything I love, even my own self, to be erased in that snap. Because I can see the bigger picture.
Acting pragmatic doesn't work when your emotions are the reason you were blinded enough to proceed with such a crazy plan.
I didn't want to do that. I sacrificed all I wanted to do what's best for the others. I kept my heart in constant pain because I know the mind is the path to virtue.
You are only acting out of trauma. When you saw your planet dying, you suggested genocide and you were laughed out of the door. When it fell apart, you were ashamed, and you developed a deep, selfish need for redemption. You were humiliated last time, so you would let nothing stop your plan, not even
No,
logic.
Doctor. You mistake trauma for clarity. My planet's death didn't wound me. It opened my eyes. I watched a civilization collapse because it chose comfort over truth, hope over balance. I learned that emotion blinds. That mercy can doom more lives than cruelty ever could. I didn't act from grief. I acted from vision. I saw what no one else would see, and I did what no one else would
You
dare.
sound like I once did. Back when I was a surgeon, I believed precision and control could solve everything. Pain, chaos, even death itself. I was so obsessed with logic, I forgot I was human. Losing my hands forced me to learn balance. Now I let my heart guide me as much as my mind. I don't ignore emotion anymore. I trust it when it tells me
You always
what's
speak
right.
like a man examining a patient, pretending you see everything that others can't. You stand there, dissecting me as if I'm another case on your table, but I am not your patient. I am the cure. The universe is sick, and I'm the only
You're
one
right.
willing to operate.
Maybe I do have the bad habit of diagnosing. But allow me one last diagnosis. You've got a serious case of main character syndrome. You don't serve the universe. You think the universe serves your story. I used to think like that. I thought I was the center of the world until the universe reminded me I wasn't. The difference between us, Thanos, is that I learned to step out of the story. You still believe you're the only one who can write the ending.
Thanos, my problem with you isn't just what you did, it's your entire worldview. You look at people and see problems to solve. I look at them and see lives worth trusting, worth believing in.
Trust them to do what exactly? Destroy themselves? Because that's what they do. Every time I've watched it happen on world after world.
Then you help them do better. You don't just erase half of them and call it mercy. People have a right to choose their own path, even if it's messy. Especially if it's messy. That's what freedom
Messy
means.
is a mild way to describe the end of worlds. Tell me, are you saying I should respect the will of the people, even when I know they're leading themselves to ruin? You'd really do that?
They were not wrong. You were. But to answer that question, yes, you should respect their will, even if they wrong, and you should work to guide them back to
Then
the
let's
right
test
way.
your conviction. Hypothetically, half the universe votes for my plan. A referendum, a democratic mandate. They agree. Erase half of all life to save the whole. The people have spoken. Would you still fight me? Or would you respect the will of the people?
That's not a fair question. The people will never do that.
It's just a hypothetical. You say the people's will is sacred. So tell me, if they chose me, would you stand aside?
No, I'd fight you, because there are some lines you don't cross.
There it is. So the will of the people shouldn't always be respected. You'd override them, impose your moral vision over theirs.
That's not what
It's exactly what you're saying. You believe in democracy right up until the moment they choose something you find unacceptable. Then suddenly, you know better. We're not so different, Steve. We both fight for a vision. We both believe we're right. The only difference is, I don't pretend
No,
otherwise.
the difference is I'd spend every moment before that vote trying to show them another way. I'd argue, I'd persuade, I'd offer alternatives. I wouldn't give up on them. You never even gave them the chance.
And if they still voted yes, after all your speeches, what then?
Then I'd have to live with knowing I failed to reach them. But I wouldn't become you. I wouldn't decide their lives are disposable just because I think they are
You
wrong.
call that strength? Living with failure while everything falls apart? That's not virtue. That's surrender wrapped in
The
hope.
world isn't perfect, Thanos. It never will be. But that's not a flaw. That's what makes it worth fighting for. People stumble. They fail. They rebuild. That's how they
So
grow.
you've made peace with failure. Tell me, Steve, if perfection were possible, would you accept
If
it?
you mean a world without suffering, without hate, then yes, of course I would. But that world
Then
doesn't
why did you
exist.
reject it when I offered it?
Offered it. Killing half the universe isn't perfection. It's erasure.
I'm not talking about that.
Then what are you talking about?
I'll explain it in my next claim. My final claim is that the Avengers don't serve the universe. They serve their illusion of being its saviors. When I abandoned my first plan and offered to build something better, a universe without hunger, without pain, they refused. Not because it was evil, but because it wasn't theirs.
What was your new plan again?
You made me realize that this universe is broken beyond repair. So I offered to create a new one, balanced, abundant, free of suffering.
Right. So you went from kill half to kill everyone. Big improvement. Real character growth.
Your perspective is too small. I'm not killing. I'm erasing everything and starting over. No one will feel anything. They'll simply wake up in a perfect universe.
We stopped you because you're not the god of this universe who gets to restart it whenever you don't like how things are going.
You did exactly that when I did things you didn't like. You played God with space and time to change the universe back into a way that suited you.
We fixed what you broke. We're not changing the universe to fit us. We're bringing it back to the way it was,
Which is what fits you.
which fits everybody. Everyone agreed with our plan. Everyone
I
supported
don't think
it.
they will when their worlds start crumbling again. You reinforce the same system that failed before. Tell me, Tony, you said you don't trust me with restarting the universe, but you had the stones. Why didn't you do
Because
it?
I'm not a crazy psychopath who thinks he's a god.
But you were in that moment, whether you admit it or not. You had the power to fix everything. End disease, hunger, war, and you chose not to.
My job was to fix what you broke, to bring everybody back.
And bring their misery back with them when you could have stopped it. You had omnipotence in your hands, and you chose this, a world still full of suffering.
Because it's their suffering to overcome, not mine to erase. You think wiping the slate clean makes you a savior? It makes you a coward who couldn't handle the universe as it
I'm
actually...
the only one who saw it clearly. You brought back 5 billion people to a planet that was already collapsing under its own weight. Within a generation, they'll...
We'll figure it out.
Like
That's
they
what
figured it
people
out
do.
before. Your sentimentality blinds
Your
you to
arrogance
basic
is exactly
mathematics,
why no one should
population
trust you with
growth,
anything.
resource depletion, climate.
You see people as
And
numbers
you
on a...
see them as children who need protecting. At least I'm honest about making hard choices instead
Hard
of pretending
choices?
everyone can just...
Snapping your fingers is easy. Actually solving problems. Actually believing people
Believing
can.
accomplishes nothing when the ship is sinking. Action.
Murder isn't action.
Restoration
It's
isn't
surrender.
salvation. It's delusion.
Says the guy who wanted to kill literally everyone.
To save everyone, which is more
You
than
can't
you.
save people by erasing
And you
them.
can't save them by doing nothing.